Welcome back to the Greatest Attorney Chronicles. When we last left off, we finished Case 3. And boy did we finish Case 3. It was, fiery, to say the least. But alas, we're now in it deep. Deep into London, with poor Ryunosuke and Susato having to fend for themselves now. They should have taken the money. But could they have lived with themselves if they had taken McGilded's money after he got out scot-free? You know, that case really gives me, like, I just think it'd be cool to have a case like this with a questionable defendant you're defending. And really, the gimmick of it would be like the flow of the case, your relationship with all parties involved could swing depending on how you answer certain questions, how you respond to certain bits of testimony and the like, and could move like one case with multiple branching paths depending on how you answer questions. And the outcome could range from you stand for the truth and get your defendant found guilty, or you go all in and side with him, with your client, get him off innocent, despite knowing all the stuff that's wrong. Or middle of the road, which is realistically the path that we went through this past chapter. Middle of the road, we point out some of the issues, and while still defending him to some degree. In the end, he gets off scot-free. And we have to live with ourselves, knowing that we let it happen. That the questions went unanswered. I just feel like that'd be interesting if you could somehow make that work. But alas, we have to deal with the aftermath now. It's time. Enter the clouded Kokoro.
I begin to think, Wilson, said Sholmes, turning his head languidly in my direction, that there is more to this case than that which we have observed. Indeed, that there may be another part to this story that we are yet to discover. His eyes wandered, following the steam rising from his cup of herbal tea, leading him to the distant memory of that snowy evening. To the young lady collapsed on the pavement along Briar Road, and to the knife in her back. Lit in the soft glow of gas lamps, a most extraordinary scene had been set. And under the cover of a light fog, the curtain had risen silently on the insoluble mystery of our invisible killer.
My knowledge fails me. I'm not actually certain if this is based off of a traditional Arthur Conan Doyle story. Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo? No, not at all. It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious. I felt like we were staying in a palace. With all the gaslights twinkling, it was brighter than day, even in the middle of the night. Throughout the enormous beds. After my time on the SS Buria, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. Oh yes, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except, we were dreaming, weren't we? I learned that we owed £3 for the rooms. That dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Oops. Sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking. In a lodging house in Japan, that sum of money would put a roof over your head for a whole year. The cost of luxury. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented with the bill. I really am sorry. Well, never mind. We must find some more affordable lodging straight away, though. One brief taste of luxury. If we're not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less. London is a scary place. Good morning to you at this early hour. Oh, yes, well. Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We have come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday. Suzada-san is amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of the imposing Lord Strongheart. Slowly getting used to that name. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation into British courtroom practices. Oh, yes, it was very eye-opening. Certainly, thank you. And in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end. Yes, I've already been apprised of events. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the test passed. Oh! No longer are you a student from the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. Release the birds. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern land. Thank you very much. So, I'm a lawyer now. Now, in view of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. I'd like you to take it on at once. I trust that won't be a problem. Another case? Already? Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure I don't sense dissatisfaction, do I? It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't quite come to terms with it. What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. What more were you hoping for? The culpability of the defendant has not, at the present time, been established by the court. Consequently, a jury will not be required to proffer judgment. Well, Lord Van Zieks, it's been a pleasure, so it has. As for you, my dear fella, I couldn't have asked for a better defense. I just can't help wondering. Mr. McGilded really was innocent. Mr. Naruhodo, it's just that I never managed to ascertain the truth. And then the trial ended. Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? Magnus McGilded passed away, immediately following the trial. No! What? Mr. McGilded is dead? Release the birds. Hey, Okay, I'm the only one supposed to be able to trigger the birds. I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds till my next engagement. Time enough to talk. Most importantly, though, Lord Strongheart, may I show you this? I had to try. To accept this item, issue a receipt, examine it thoroughly, and make a formal statement of my findings would require something in the region of 24 seconds of my time. Sorry? Does the item warrant 24 seconds of my time, Mr. Naruhodo? Let's leave it for now. Oh. No one wants to see my lawyer armband. Disappointed. Gilbert's death. I don't understand. What happened? How could he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. As you presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom. Yes, of course. It was the scene of the crime which Mr. McGilded had been accused of. Precisely. Well, while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames. No. How could such a thing have happened? That is being investigated as we speak. But already... The police have identified a corpse found inside the charred shell of the carriage as that of McGilded. That's awful. The man must have slipped inside while the bailiff's attention was elsewhere. That bailiff really needs to pay more attention. No kidding. And how could that have happened? That is also being investigated as we speak. Thinking back now, immediately after the trial, Mr. McGill did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus. Well, I must be making tracks now. It's time for the inspection. Sorry? What inspection? They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself. An inspection of the omnibus? Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage. What? And who was Mr. McGilded talking about? Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer any concern of yours. Leave it to the police. Poor Mr. McGilded. What? So, how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was... wow! Mr. Naruhodo means that the whole experience was steeped in the solemnity of Great Britain's long history. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Wow, Suzaru-san has such a way with words. And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. You're right. The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all you can. I certainly am. The most advanced in the world, is it? We already have our doubts about that. The way that trial went, it was fortunate. That your very first trial was a simple affair. Simple? Simple? That was simple? As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose. Don't mean to be contrary, Lord Strongheart, but the case was anything but simple. The circumstances of the case were so incriminating, I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Are we going silent? Is something funny? No. My apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. And that can only be attributed to exceptional talent. Wouldn't you agree? Well, I don't know about that. Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much is at least an undeniable truth. Which is precisely why I prepared the new case for you that I mentioned before. What's going on? What was he going to say before? I don't know what to make of him. I really don't. Could you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned? A case we couldn't lose. A case that we got a favorable verdict on through our own skill, so he says. And there's more. Don't tell me, it's a murder and the trial starts in 10 minutes. Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different. Oh, I see. Did he just read my mind? That is to say, no one has died. As yet. And the trial will not be today. There is plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. 23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise. So the trial's tomorrow then. Is everything alright? Oh, yes. I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was... well, it's left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I don't know if I could face standing in that courtroom again after Mr. McGilded's trial. I mean, understandable, but... oh yes, I nearly forgot. There is one similarity with yesterday's case. Eh? You'll be facing... once again, there is currently no one to advocate for the defense. Oh! The situation remains unchanged. The trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. If that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome. The most terrible end awaits the defendant. Yes, that's right. Ah, shit. Here we go again. Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you to begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. There is now but 23 hours, 26 minutes, and 39 seconds until the court sits. Last time he mentioned the 23 hours, he said there was plenty of time. I had one more thing. Mr. Naruhodo, there is something I should like to ask you. Oh, what's that? Yesterday you remarked upon something. That you intend to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Asogi. Oh? I would be interested to hear what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds. Cosmo always used to say, you see, he wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world works so he could change ours in Japan. Now that he's gone, I'd like to work towards that myself. And there's another thing. Oh! Another thing? Continue. On the way here on the steamship, he said something to me. Something very important I have to do. Something very important? And what exactly would that be? He never had a chance to tell me. Suppose he would have done... if he never made it to Great Britain. You're out of time. Well, thank you for an enlightening discussion. Mr. Naruhodo, what's all this about? Mr. Asogi never once mentioned anything of the sort to me. I urge you both to focus your attentions on the matter at hand. I've taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector in charge of the case. He'll be able to apprise you of the details. How long's he been there? Hi. So, I wish you the best of luck, and bid you farewell. He has an interest in us. And Asogi. There's something very important that I have to do. Kazuma-sama, what did you mean? I wish I knew. Honestly, he never told me. Anyway, we better talk to the detective, don't you think? Yes, you're right. I hope I'm just imagining it. I wouldn't say he looks pleased to see us at all. Well. Hi. Could we trouble you? What do you think? Ah! Lovely weather, isn't it? What's the weather got to do with anything? Ah. It's to be a young Japanese upstart. Some frippery about the weather doesn't get every English gent eaten out of your hand, you know? But Susato-san told me it was foolproof. I'm a busy man. I'm a very busy man. It's a crime scene to investigate, but I'm here having to give the likes of you a talking to. Oh, I'm ever so sorry. You imagine what the other officers there will be saying? Hmm? Haven't seen Gregson anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the bigwigs these days. All because of some bumpkin who's here on a jaunt from a country I've never even heard of. Hear that ripping sound? My reputation at the yard going to tatters. There's no need to rip us apart as well. I don't believe we'd been introduced. This is Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a defense lawyer. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it? Susato. Uh-oh. There's the secret to it. It is unseasonably fine, I grant you. London winters don't see a lot of sunshine. Unbelievable! How did she pull that off? So, Roland Stronghart has asked me to fill you in on the case. You get all my bad British accents this playthrough. The name's Tobias Gregson. Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard. Ah yes, legendary Tobias Gregson. A very common character in the works of Sherlock Holmes. Gregson? Inspector Gregson? As I'm sure we're probably about to hear from Susato. What's the matter with Susato-san? Does the detective's name mean something to her? Apparently a pretty prominent name in universe Sherlock Holmes works as well. Inspector, are you perhaps the Inspector Gregson? Munch. I think you know who this man, Susato. But he's a London detective. Oh, I do know him. Very well, in fact. Very well? Yes. He features prominently in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Yep. Oh, in that publication. What's it called again? Ranced Magazine? That's right. Inspector Gregson and Mr. Holmes enjoy a wonderful friendly rivalry. Really? You rival the great Mr. Holmes? That's incredible. It is certainly much more friendly than the way it is depicted in certain BBC serials, so to speak. We won't talk about that. Mr. Holmes isn't a professional like myself, of course, but he does come up with the goods from time to time. Mr. Holmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. Exactly. Gregson is the pick of a bad lot of all the Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words. That's his highest praise? Well, Mr. Holmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see. That he is not. In Thanks to that magazine, my name's known all over London town now. That's great, isn't it? I'll have to admit that to start with, I was a little, well, flattered by all the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, and my reputation at the yard went through the roof. Well, that's wonderful. No, it is not. There's nothing more sinister than the man on the street. People are always looking at me now, whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure. Rumors? Are you quite sure? Someone's insecure. He's changed since he started appearing in those stories. The fame's gone to his head. Stuff like that. Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you? Like I said, they whisper, so I can't catch exactly what they're saying. But I know what folk are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying. As sure as eggs is eggs. Are eggs eggs? Question of the day. Answer in the comments below. Are eggs eggs? Your poll choices are yes and maybe. I get the feeling this detective could be very hard work. Oh dear. Sudden rise to fame does change people. Alright, the case. Oop. My mouse is... there we go. So, about the case that the Lord Chief Justice mentioned before. Nothing to tell, really. As far as we're concerned at the yard, it couldn't be simpler. That's how they all start. Oh dear, that probably means... as far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated. Naturally. I wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right. A young woman was walking along the pavement at Briar Road when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she's still laid up in the hospital, unconscious. Despicable! What sort of coward would attack the poor woman from behind? I suppose you would have finished whoever it was off with the Susato takedown, wouldn't you? It's neither here nor there, Mr. Naruhodo. Brace yourself, Inosuke, you've angered her now. You're about to get tossed. Anyway, after somewhat of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. Barely had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest. So, there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit. Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question? Let me stop you right there. You're wasting your time on this one. Sorry? Nothing you can do. There's no way to help the bloke now. Why ever not? Simple. Prosecutor that's been assigned to the trial tomorrow is Lord Baruch von Zeeks. No! Sounds like you heard of him then. Oh no, I think we got on pretty well. In that last trial. He even called me learned. Which hopefully didn't mean sarcastically. Oh yes, we are very familiar with Lord Van Zeeks. Believed to be the harbinger of death itself. The Reaper of the Bailey. Lord Baruch Van Zeeks, who we faced in court only yesterday. Mr. McGilded told us about him before the trial, didn't he? How much of what he told us could we actually trust, though? When Van Zeeks stands for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. In every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. This Reaper of the Bailey nickname. I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates against is found guilty, isn't that it? Well, if that's the case, I should inform you, Inspector. In yesterday's trial against Lord Van Zeeks, Mr. Naruhodo secured a verdict of not guilty. I have a feeling it's more than just that, Susato. And what of it? Oh? Well, I think... means that even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant. Did we, though? No, you really don't have a clue, do ya? What do you mean? Serious look. What happened to the bloke in the end, eh? He's dead. Ah. Magnus McGillen gave a cropper in that omnibus when it went up in flames. I was there, remember? So you can't rightly say you saved the defendant, can you? What are you saying? Look, if Van Ziegs could get the dirt to stick on everyone, he'd be a miracle worker. That's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles. He works magic. Black magic. Oh. Ooh. I'd have a good long think about that if I were you. He's a... Are we supposed to believe that? He's a black mage. Obviously. Right, well, I feel joy as requested. I'm very nearly out of chips. So I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. We're still carrying out a few investigations there. It was Briar Road, you said, didn't you? Where the incident took place. That's correct, ma'am. If you head over to the holding cells, you can meet the criminal himself. You branded him a criminal already? He's as good as. Shaking like a leaf in his cell, he is. He'll give you a chuckle if nothing else. He's inmate 53. Speak to the jailer and he'll show you the way. Inmate 53? Thank you. Well. So there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say. Is something troubling you, Mr. Naruhodo? Tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in the court again is... Well, I think it's too much for you. There's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage, too. But if the man they've arrested is innocent... You could well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in his cell. And I, for one, wouldn't find the sight of that funny. Yeah, same. That's not something to laugh at. So, if I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself. I'm really not sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. I'd like to try. I think I'm gonna make some inquiries. Will you help? Did you really think you had to ask? After all, I am your judicial assistant. Oh yeah. Thank you. So then, shall we? Yes! Let's go! Oh. Let's go to the prison. I always feel on edge here. There's so many interesting books I wish I could borrow. And now we find out the reason why this case is titled what it is. So these are British prison cells. They are depressing. Oh, they're ghastly. It feels just like a dungeon. Yes, and having experienced it in Japan myself, I can assure you that our wooden cells feel a lot cozier than these cold stone walls. Oh, don't, Mr. Naruhodo. You're making it seem worse. It is worse. Apparently, our client is in this cell here. But it's so dark at the back there, I can't make him out. I wonder what he's like. Inmate 53, your legal representative is here to see you. Stop by at the back of the cell and show your face at once. That am I? Am I a cat? As yet with no name? Calling my number. It's utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. I refuse to answer. Mr. Naruhodo, what? What do you think is going on here? I have no idea. I wasn't just hearing things, was I? That tirade of complaints was in Japanese. Excuse me, but who? Shh! Quiet! They're all around, hiding. I know they are. They're watching, listening, even now. I can sense it. Right, so... I ask you what exactly thing you are. You've been cursed me, haven't you? Don't try to hide it. You're a ghost. A ghost? We mean you no harm, prisoner-san. Are you... Japanese, by any chance? No. This is... beyond my wildest dreams! Forgive me for that outburst before. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's fine. I'm just a little surprised, that's all. Imagine it! It's been 12 long months since I left my hometown. Here I am, in a frightful fix in a foreign land. Oh, so hearing the sweet, sentimental tones of a compatriot's voice here in this damp, dark hellhole was a most monumentally moving moment! Who could have guessed that this new client Lord Strongheart assigned to us would turn out to be a fellow Japanese? Ah! What compassion my fellow countrymen show! To dispatch a first-class lawyer all the way from Japan to defend a mere foreign student! Noble, nurturing, never failing, Nippon! A first-class lawyer? Oh dear, I think there's been something of a misunderstanding here. I wonder, would you be so kind as to tell us what's happened? Why you been detained as a suspect, for example? Yes, I can. I will. Shut, say, sullen, silent! I'm not quite sure I understand what he means, but he seems happy. Yes, he does. I should hope he actually has a good reason to be. Thank you for your cooperation. I am a lawyer, as you said. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. And I am Naruhodo-san's judicial assistant, Kuzaro Mikotoba. I am a visiting student sent here by our government. Notably, notoriously named Natsume Soseki Natsume. I wonder if he was this extra in real life. Because Natsume Soseki was a Japanese novelist who was actually sent to study in Great Britain around this time period. He's Japanese first Japanese English literary scholar. He stayed there for about 2 years, and for all intents and purposes, had a miserable time in London. Spending most of his days indoors buried in books. Definitely, one specific quote that, notable. Among English gentlemen I lived in misery, like a poor dog that had strayed among a pack of wolves. Well, that much has been pretty clearly conveyed so far. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Yes! A symbol of one of our great empire's first-rate lawyers! Which means, of course, you'll stand by my side. You'll defend me. Oh, no, sorry, that wasn't why I was showing it to you. And why else would you show me that? Oops, in hindsight, that probably wasn't the best idea. Which really gets back to, the reason why this chapter is called what it is. Because the defendant is Natsume Soseki. And one best known around the world for, novels such as... One of his most well-known works is, in fact, called Kokoro, which, a lot of what we'll see discusses the theme of isolation, amongst with egotism and guilt, as opposed to shame. Also deals with the changing times in Japan. Interesting work. And one of his other works, which was referenced earlier on, is I Am a Cat. Known as Wagahai wa Neko no Dearu. I butchered that. Which is a satirical work. Simply related to the mixing of Western and Eastern traditions. Remember that name Wagahai also. Anyways, he's grinding his teeth like crazy, so... Soseki Natsume-san? What an unusual name. Call me Soseki, please. I'm a poet, you see. A writer of haiku. It's something of a nom de plume. A nom de plume? You mean an alias? That's right, Naruhodo-san. No! Don't be so prosaic. It's much more refined than that. And haiku? That really reminds me of home. Did I hear you say that you were a visiting student? Sent over here by the government? Yes, that's right. A year ago I was told to go and study English. First I had to suffer that misery. And now this! It's beyond the pale! Suffer that misery? Did you not want to study here? No, I mean, I've had an interest in Great Britain for some years, of course. Oh. What? Just because the government tells you to do something, does it mean you can do it? No. What do you mean? If they told me to study English literature, that I could have understood. That's my field. But no, they told me to study the English language. Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly, unreasonable. I see. Only the other day I was told to send a report about my first year here. I tendered a blank piece of paper. Wise words on white. Washi. You must be a man of great standing. Oh, yes. So I'm often told. I often like to be told, it seems. Could you perhaps tell us exactly why you've been arrested, Soseki-san? I didn't do it. I didn't commit that atrocious murder. Not murder? Oh, no. No. It's all right. The woman didn't actually die, did she? Oh, she was stabbed with a knife right before my eyes. But before your eyes? You mean you saw the attacker? I didn't see anyone. What? Well, I'd seen the person who did it. Do you think I'd be locked up in here? Oh dear, it seems this case is becoming rather complicated. Why me? Why did that silly woman have to be stabbed in front of me? The curse of London. It's incredibly, inexcusably, irritatingly inconvenient. So Soseki-san was there at the scene, but he didn't see the attacker. It's vital that we find out more about the case. Alright, what happened? It was an accursed evening, just after the snow had started to clear and heavy with fog. I'd been to the bookshop to buy some books. I was on my way back to my accursed lodgings. Sure the bookshop wasn't accursed too? As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat she was. And just as I went to overtake her, I suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. How terrible. I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like a ghostly, ghoulish, grim graveyard. Slight exaggeration there, perhaps. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran, as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. That's not good. They'll say it was shameful, I know. Throw it away like that. Tell me, Soseki-san. Was the victim an acquaintance of yours? Don't be ridiculous. Do you think I know any of these fair-haired English? And a young woman at that. Regular fish and chips. He certainly is. I'm diffident, shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people. Big mood. That's a big mood. I see. A young woman, unknown to Soseki-san. At the time it happened, who else did you see nearby? Did anyone pass you? Incredibly. Apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul. No one? Oh, great. So the victim was unknown to you, and there was nobody else on the street at the time. That creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it? What conundrum? Where'd the knife come from, then? What do you mean, Susanoo-san? What's the conundrum? Well, if what Soseki-san has just told us is true, there's something I can't explain. He says that he didn't know the victim, that there was no one else at the scene, that he apparently fled without having been seen. I did. But if that's the case, surely this man has to be the culprit. Ah! You. Doubting me. What did you just say? Nothing. I didn't say anything. Oops, perhaps I thought that a little loudly. Actually, that's not what was troubling me. What I was thinking was, how did Soseki-san actually come to be arrested? Ah. Sorry? He didn't touch the victim, and there was nobody at the scene to see him. So how did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place? Oh, yeah. She's right. It was him. What a cursed great detective. He led the police on to me. All the bad luck. A cursed great detective? Could it be? I should never forget that man's name as long as I live. His haughty laugh and his self-proclaimed greatness. Brash, big-headed, busybody, be gone! May you be cursed until the end of your days, Herlock Jones. I knew it. Uh-oh. Mr. Sholmes! Herlock Sholmes. Well, I didn't expect to hear that name from this man's lips, that's for sure. It was the morning after the nightmare had unfolded on the pavement before me. I was gnawing on a sliver of hard cheese when some men suddenly burst into the door. They started shouting at me. This is the police. Put the weapon down. This was a thin sliver, and this was hard. But I wasn't eating a weapon. Disgusting, dietary discrimination, devils. Pelvic thrust. You clearly had a trying morning yesterday. And there he was, in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a Cheshire cat. That Herlock Sholmes. It's actually just Herlock Sholmes. He's English. I've since found out that he's a famous name in detection here in London. Yes, the great detective is really very well known. His overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts, apparently. He thinks I'm the knife-wielding bad man. Me, this weak, stooped kitten of a man. I wonder what great deduction process led him to his conclusion this time. Do you mean to say Mr. Sholmes' deduction was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unreasonable. Well, the thing is, I was thrown into a panic when they barged their way in. Of course you were. That's only natural. I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing question after question at me in impossible English. English foreign flim flammery. well, we are in England. You can't really blame them for questioning you in English. Good point. But my mind went blank. I knew I had to answer, but I didn't know what to say. I just kept repeating things like, yes, I do, and I'm fine. Next thing I knew, I was at Manacles. Before I knew it, I was thrown in here. Oh dear, I'm afraid. That's hardly surprising. I'm fine? He's not fine now. Oh no, were you channeling your inner Apollo Justice? Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Oh, you can just call me Naruhodo. When we're speaking English, a simple mister is more than enough. Oh, yes, alright. Yes, they've really got to me. This country is poisoning my mind. But please, I beg you to defend me in court tomorrow. You can tell them what really happened. You'll do it, won't you? Well, Why? Why is it so hard to say yes to me? Well, the thing is, I'm just a student like yourself, on a study tour. A student? I've defended a case in the Old Bailey. Only the one, though. At this moment in time, I really don't know what I'm supposed to believe in. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means. Oh, Naruhodo-san. Not even the foreign student who was supposed to be here. I'm a sort of locum lawyer, I suppose. But that armband! That's the mark of a defense lawyer from our great empire! It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He was my best friend. Locum means placeholder. I should say it stands for locum tenens, which means placeholder. But it's just shortened to locum. It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He's my best friend. A keepsake? Oh no. I know exactly what they're saying about me. Oh? What do you mean? The lawyers, all the British defense lawyers, they won't defend me. Goodness, why? Why do you say that? For the same reason as you noted before. When it happened, there's only the victim and myself around. I ran away from the scene of the crime. I'm not a fool. I know it looks as though I must be the culprit. It must be very hard for you, Soseki-san. And anyway, I'm a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them, someone not to be trusted. I heard them openly laughing about me before, my ear shut, without any compunction at all. Any trial for this man would be a waste of time, they said, and of course the foreigner did it. They even had the gall to say the man doesn't understand half of what's being said anyway. Oof. It's awful. They're wrong. I've studied more English than half of the policemen out there on the streets. I've traveled halfway around the world to learn about these people's country and its great history. But no one here wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They all hate me. So, at the very least, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen to me in my native tongue. You could do it, couldn't you? When I look into your eyes, I can see it. I can see what you've been through. Soseki-san, it's just that... Give me a little time, please. I'll do what I can, for the time being. What do you mean? We shall investigate the case as thoroughly as possible. If we can find some clues, it will give us a much better chance, I'm sure. Oh, yes. Thank you. I'll be here, all alone, waiting for you. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. We should be going then, Naruhodo-san. We have a case to prepare for. Visiting a cold, dark jail brings home the reality of crime and punishment. poor guy. He's been through some shit here. Some serious shit here. He needs a break. Let's see what we can turn up to hopefully give him a break. Briar Street? Daily News? This is where it happened. Briar Road. Ah! Look, Mr. Naruhodo! Cops! Look at that regulation metal helmet. It's unmistakable. Men of Scotland Yard are here. They're investigating as we speak. The pretty snowman. That is their job, you know? Mr. Naruhodo, to see it with my own eyes. We often depicted in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, but never dreamt I'd ever come this close. Revealed Bobby's helmet. What? The helmet? Of course. I'll have to try one on one day. Well, I hope your Hattie dreams come true. Hey, Gregson. What's the Japanese delegation doing here? Oh, Inspector Gregson. This isn't on the tourist trails, so I'm fairly sure you're well aware. Yes, of course. We're here to investigate. Oh, you've been to the holding cells, then. What do you make of the criminal? He's not a criminal, as you put it, Inspector. He's a suspect. You'll see about that. You Japanese like to stick together, I suppose. I know. Well, do what you will. It doesn't bother me. The bloke's in court tomorrow, whatever happens. The verdict's a foregone conclusion. The stone-cold air of rejection. Take heart. London at this time of year is full of stone-cold air. That makes it worse somehow. Yeah. God damn it. Dr. Gregson, can I show you this? I'm not supposed to know what that is. I've never seen that insignia before. It's worn by defense lawyers in the Empire of Japan. It's a symbol of their profession. In other words, it's a worthless trinket here in Great Britain. Oh no, it's very important to me. It shows my spirit. An English gentleman keeps things like his spirit very much to himself, I'll have you know. Oh. Don't give up, Mr. Naruhodo. It's too late. He's crushed my spirit already. Well, alright. Tell me about Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I read about it in the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, I've been fascinated by the place. The Yard is the most sophisticated policing organization you'll find anywhere in the world, ma'am. Oh, and you know, I've always dreamt of wearing a real Bobby's helmet. It does make them look the part, seeing that policeman there with his helmet on. You certainly get the sense that this is a man who will take no nonsense in his duty of protecting the city. Oh yes, doesn't he look wonderful? Fangirl. Being a London Bobby is hard going, I can tell ya. Oh, really? First thing in the morning, you know what he does. He goes round and rouses all the labourers on his beat so they can get off to work. What? He wakes people up? Yep. Raps on their windows with a long pole. Did it myself going back a bit. I had no idea. Bobby works for the people of the town. That's another one of his duties. After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. He has to cover 20 miles a day. That's the regulation distance. I can't really imagine how far that is, but it sounds like a long way. Let me see. 20 miles, that's approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama. On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far. A step too far. Well, when he gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all the gas street lamps. Oh my. I suppose in between all those duties, Bobbies are expected to investigate cases as well. And and chase after criminals trying to evade the law. No, I'm not sure you could call it between exactly, or alongside, but yes. I expected to handle those jobs as well. You do have men killing out from time to time, I admit. Oh, I choked on that one, sorry. I always dreamt of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But if it's with a heavy heart, then I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Why to me? Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if you do. Yes, please, I would rather not. We're gonna let that go at this point. Oh god, yeah. We're gonna let that go for now. When we come back, we'll get back to the case. Figure out. Yep, we have to, what does Susato have to say about this place? Are you sure we've asked everything we need to, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, fair enough. Tips from Susato, helping us progress. So we'll have to finish talking to Gregson and have a look around before we get any closer to the crime scene. But we've got our next case. We've got our man, Soseki-san, who needs help in a bad way right now. So, when we come back, we'll see if we can turn up to give that poor man a break. He needs a hug and a good night's sleep. Until next time, until then, thanks for watching.